What are we discussing on today's podcast, you ask? Well, we got Nash Walker of the Reno Aces to break down the minor league system. Who should be called up next? Who don't we talk enough about? Why is Reno so good for rehab? And so much more on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Miller Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millerthomas24.myportfolio.com. I'm there you see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or just look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter, Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I'd not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you is free and available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe on the Locked on Diamondbacks YouTube channel. But now that we got all that out of the way, let's bring on the main attraction of the show, Nash Walker of the Reno Aces. Sir, how are you doing today?
Millard, it's good to be back, man. Missed talking to you, and we've been following the Diamondbacks, of course, very closely. And the first half is over in Reno, so we are exactly a half, 75 games in out of 150. So halfway through, good time to check in.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost halfway through the MLB season, too. I think we're on like game 75 as well, somewhere around that. So both of our seasons, I mean, it's a long season. You play a lot of games, but surely does it go quick at the same time. So, yeah, just trying to enjoy this baseball season. A lot of times, a lot of D-back seasons, I started doing the D-backs podcast in 2020. This is the first time we're halfway through the year. I'm like, you know what? D-back's still in it. The season ain't over yet. I already got to start planning off-season content, so it's a really nice feeling. And one of the reasons because these D-backs players, a lot of them, they get hurt. Not a lot of them, but a few of them not get hurt. They've underperformed guys like Alec Thompson, Jake McCarthy, and then what happens? They get optioned down to AAA. They go spend some time with the Reno Aces. Then they come back and they look like new ball players, honestly. And I want to know, Nash, what are you guys giving these dudes down in Nevada? Or do you guys have that Michael Jordan secret juice? Because these guys go down there like hitting sub 200, and then they come back looking like the best players in baseball.
So my broadcast partner, Kevin DiDomenico, I texted him today, and he sent me a tweet, or I sent him a tweet. It was, I think his name is Jesse Friedman. It was the line with Jake McCarthy and Alec Thomas since they were recalled to Arizona, and they were stellar. I mean, stellar lines, as you're saying. So I texted Kevin, and I said the Diamondbacks MVPs of the first half are Corbin Carroll, Travis Denker, and Zach Gallen. And Travis Denker is the hitting coach of the Reno Aces.
Okay.
So Travis has done a great job. Mark Reed's done a great job with these guys. But, I mean, they're just talented players. They're talented players. And Alec was unbelievable here. Jake was really good too. Alec, in doing it in center, like there were plenty of opportunities for him in center field to run down balls, to flash his skills and his athleticism. But yeah, both of them built a bunch of confidence, I think, too, playing here and going to various ballparks in AAA and seeing AAA pitching week after week and getting into a groove. And now we hope the same for Josh Rojas, who's been great, of course, so far since coming down as well.
Yeah, and the Reno Aces, that ballpark is supposed to be kind of like a hitter's ballpark with that, upper elevation. So these guys, it's kind of like basketball. When you're in a shooting slump, sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the basket. I think for these guys, they go down to AAA and then they smash 350, 400 for like a 2-week span. And then while they're riding that high, they come up to the major league level. But it's not even the McCarthys and the Alec Thomases, because I'm on the Reno Aces stats right now. I have it filtered just for the month of June. And there's only 3 dudes. Everybody that's played at least one game this season, or at least this month of June for the Reno Aces, only 3 of like the 22 dudes that have suited up don't have like an OPS above 800. Like every single dude in that Aces team right now has like an 800 to like 1,000 OPS. And it's insane when you're just looking at the box scores right now and you're just going up and down the stats for the Reno Aces right now. Like, how can you have all these dudes battle it out? Like, how can you find enough playing time for all these guys? Because I'm just looking up and down. It's like every dude is batting 300 or like a 950 OPS, and it's insane.
It's honestly, I think it's difficult for them. And like they've had to make tough moves to create that playing time. But like Josh coming out playing third base every day, that moves things around. And you're right, like everybody's hitting. So you might go 4 for 5 with a homer and you're sitting the next day. That's just the nature of the beast. And the Aces have had the best offense in AAA in the month of June. It's been especially good this month. They just swept Albuquerque in 6 games. Albuquerque, the Rockies AAA affiliate. It was a rough week for them. It was a rough week. The Aces swept, and the offense was just tremendous. Brandon Pfaadt was amazing in his start. I believe that was Friday night. And yeah, I mean, everybody's producing, it feels like. Everybody has produced. Everybody's had a run this year that's been incredible. And, you know, lately, Kyle Lewis has kind of emerged above the rest. I mean, everybody, Jorge Barrosa, I'm sure we'll get to as well. But yeah. Kyle Lewis this week went 5 for 5 in a game with 5 balls hit over 100 miles an hour. Yesterday, he was stinging the ball. He hit the ball hard into some outs, but on the week, he was so dialed in at the plate. And he was drawing walks the week before, and I said, hey, I think Kyle Lewis is ready to go. He's going to start dialing it in and then hitting for power. And his batting practice is just different. I mean, you stand behind watching him take BP. He is incredible, and he had a great, great week. But, yeah, he's among many who are producing and have produced all year. It feels like everybody's had a week or a series where they've been great, where they almost carry the group, where they elevate their group more than the others. And it's been fun to watch, man. I'm hoping for the same in the second half.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just been a tough week for the Rockies overall. Got seen that score on the major league level with them against the Angels. I mean, it's been a tough week for that organization. So
tough 10 years, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, have you ever looked at, but for all the listeners out there, just go look at Bud Black's managerial record. I think he's the longest tenured manager in Major League Baseball. I think he has 2 90-win seasons in 18 years, and neither one of them was more than 91 wins. Like, it's the saddest managerial record of all time for a dude who's been managing for like nearly 2 decades. And I do want to talk a little bit more about Kyle Lewis later on the podcast, but overall, what's the philosophy like when a guy like Alek Thomas or Jake McCarthy or Kyle Lewis gets sent down? Is it automatically their job? They're like AAA, you're like, okay, we got to get these guys back in the groove. Everyone else who is starting, you're just moving down one spot. These are going to be your new everyday players. Or do you still try to make those guys battle it out? Like, yeah, Jake McCarthy, I know you've been on the major league level for like the last half season, but this guy, Dominic Fletcher, Canzone, like they've been swinging a hot bat, and we're actually going to make you battle it out for some roster playing time.
I mean, there's a lot of great players here. There are a lot of great position players here. Pitching's been a little more inconsistent here in this first half, but a lot of good position players, left-handed and right-handed bats. But no, I mean, Jake McCarthy and Alek Thomas with their prospect pedigree, and Jake last year, how good he was for the D-backs, they play every day. And Jake was
premium.
Right. Jake was leading off, then Alek was leading off. You know, Dom will lead off Fletcher. But those guys will play every day, and they're going to play every day as well because they were amazing. I mean, McCarthy, I think when he first came, struggled, and I think Alek went 0 for 5 in his first game back in Reno. We used it as like a benchmark constantly. Like, since his 0 for 5 start, he's hitting 550. It was a ridiculous number. But yeah, those guys play every day. Alek, I think for that 2-week stretch, was the team MVP, unquestionably the team MVP. Like, he would offensively, defensively, on the bases, hitting for power, hitting for average, and now you're seeing it with Arizona, which is great for him, and he really dialed it back in. And then Jake too, it's the same thing. Goes up, same thing. And playing every day, I think that helps them at AAA, as I said, to see AAA pitching on a daily basis, build that confidence, hit at this ballpark. They play every day, and they produce every single day.
Yeah, hopefully it can help out Carson Kelly, because he was crushing in AAA too, and it hasn't exactly translated to the major league level yet. So hopefully it will eventually start catching up. I'm looking at Alek Thomas. Yeah, in 13 games he batted 400 with 1049 OPS in AAA. Just absolutely tore the cover off the ball. So AAA for some guys can definitely be very beneficial, and they could carry that momentum over to the major league level, like we've seen with the Thomases and the McCarthys of the world. But Nash, I do want to ask you, I want to throw some names at you and ask you who you think should be called up. But before we get there, Nash Walker, we first must talk about eBay Motors. Let me pick up my little overlay for my YouTube audience. Where is it at? There it is. Okay, for a championship team, it's all about making every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right. Back here with Nash Walker of the Reno Aces. And don't forget, you can catch every D-backs pitch on their hometown broadcast when you download the SiriusXM app and search up Diamondbacks. Now we're really back with Nash Walker. And Nash, I want to ask you, I want to throw some names out at you. I want you to make the case as to why these players should be called up, because the D-backs, they're not a perfect roster, right? A guy like Pavin Smith, who was a first rounder by the D-backs, has been struggling. I think a lot of fans would probably like to see him replace in the lineup. He hasn't really hit the ball too well defensively. He's a little bit of a struggle as well. So I got some names here that could potentially replace him. Also, I got a guy that could potentially be back in the D-backs rotation. So the first thing I want to throw at you is the guy who's been probably the talk of the town in the minor league system the last couple of weeks, Dominic Canzone. What should D-backs fans know about him, and why should he be the Pavin Smith replacement?
Yeah, coming up through the system, always highly touted for the exit velocities, right? You always read like Dominic Canzone is some of the best exit velos in the Diamondbacks system, and that is absolutely correct. When you just watch and you watch him hit, and I hate to talk about BP too much, but it's so obvious when Dominic Canzone is in the box, the ball does explode off his bat, and he has been the Aces' best power hitter and most consistent power hitter unquestionably throughout the season. They have a lot of right-handed hitters. They do. They have Buddy Kennedy and Phillip Evans, Diego Castillo, good right-handed hitters, PJ Higgins. You know, they have a lot of right-handed bats in that lineup. But what Canzone has done is he splits them, and he splits them in the most impactful way you could possibly split them. I think he's looked really solid in right field. I know there's been defensive question marks on him as a prospect, but I think he's looked really solid in right field, and the bat will play. The bat is going to play. He's crushed right-handed pitching. He's crushed at home especially, but now those numbers are evening out. He's just hitting everybody everywhere. I think, yeah, Dominic Canzone, the thing that stands out to me, when you have somebody like him, there's been a lot of big left-handed bats at AAA who crush, but they run 25, 28, 30% strikeout rates. That's not Dominic Canzone. I looked at a stretch of time where he was walking more than he was striking out as a guy who's slugging 6-something. And that's the difference. When you look at a position player prospect and at the plate, hitting for average, hitting for power, not striking out, drawing walks. Dominic Canzone has done that all season. He's done that. And especially, I'm glad you mentioned, like, especially over the last couple of weeks, it's been amplified to the max. He's been great. I think, he is their best power hitter. He has, I think, 16 homers, and the next down has 7. It's a two-way tie, I think, with 7. Like, he's been that much better from the power department. It's a team that loads the bases, a lot of base hits, but they don't hit a lot of homers. He's an exception to that rule. He's on pace for over 30. I'm hoping he's in Arizona so he doesn't hit 30 for real. But yeah, I mean, he has been awesome. We had a stat the other night on the broadcast since 2009 in the Diamondback system among qualified hitters. He's running the highest slugging percentage basically in over 10 years in the Diamondback system among qualified hitters. That includes a lot of years at Reno in a hitter-friendly park. So he's better than all those guys too. He's been great. And he made a great catch in right field the other day against the wall in foul territory. Everything you could possibly look for Dominic Canzone, he's delivered it in the first half.
Yeah, in the month of June, Canzone in 18 games, batting .426 with a 1268 OPS. Absolutely insane. And like you said, just pacing the home run total for the Reno Aces. It's literally not even close. He has more than double home runs the next guy on the list. So I don't know how the D-backs would feel about another left-handed outfielder with the McCarthys, Carrolls, and Thomases of the world. But the D-backs could always use more power, because after Carroll, I mean, Marte's back in the power department this season. But you could have said after like a Walker and a Carroll, the power kind of fell off for the D-backs. But I mean, Longoria has been picking it up. up Marte too. So if you could add a Canzone, then all of a sudden have this speed power dynamic among your whole team with the Carrolls, Thomases, McCarthys, and have your power with the Canzones and Walkers. Like, it could just be a really nice balanced attack where maybe you don't have too many superstars in your lineup, but you just got dude after dude that could bring some kind of element to the game. So I would love to see Canzone at least make a cup of coffee with the D-backs this season. We already talked about him earlier, gave us a little primer, but let's talk again about Kyle Lewis, because this is someone that was acquired in the offseason, former rookie of the year, and he got hurt. And for Kyle Lewis, I really want to know, like, can he be that power platoon guy from the right side of the plate? I don't think the D-backs are going to ask a ton of him. And do you think he has any potential as an outfielder? Like, has he played any defensive outfield for the Aces this season?
Yeah, he's been playing left. I believe he started in left yesterday. When Emmanuel Rivera was here at the beginning of the season, and it was Rivera and Pavin in the middle of a lineup, but you would watch Emmanuel and you're like, he's just too good. He's too good for this, right? You just watch him, you're like, he's a big leaguer. He has big league experience. He has big league success. He crushed left-handed pitching, Rivera. You just watched and you knew, like, this isn't going to be long. And that's the exact same feeling I had with Kyle Lewis when I watched him throughout this last week. I think he went 11 for 22, including that 5 for 5. You watch him, you watch his approach, and he's just dominating at bats. He's dominating at bats. He's taking his walks. He's hitting for power. Everything is hard off the bat. So I watch him, and it's the same thing I thought with Rivera at the beginning of the season. And that's not true of everybody. Certainly is true for Lewis. And yeah, he's played left field. I admittedly have not seen him, make any crazy plays. I don't know if he's had an opportunity to do so, like into the gap or toward the line. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but he has played in the outfield. He nearly hit for the cycle in that 5 for 5. He had 2 doubles, 2 singles, and a homer. He just looks like he's so locked in right now. And maybe that wasn't the case when he first came back, when he first was here on his rehab before he got activated an option. But since that time, like over, after 5 to 10 games, he's been unconsciously good from the right side. And when it was fun. Like, Kevin and I were laughing. We've laughed at these lineups all first half. Like, to go from, I'm admittedly, I don't know if you are as well, but I love when it goes right, left, and you just have beasts like alternating, and it would go like Lewis, Canzone, and like Phillip Evans, who's been amazing, and like Buddy Kennedy, and it's just such a loaded lineup. And then with Alec, when Alec was in there, it was just insane. And Kyle's a big part of that right now. And I think when I watch him, I feel the same way I did about Emmanuel, which is a big league player. So rookie of the year, I don't care if it was a COVID season. Like, he is uberly talented. He's a former top prospect, and they traded for him for a reason. I think for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think the D-backs still want an opportunity to see him on the major league level and see if he can bring that power and former flair back that he had when he won that award in 2020. But then he got hurt, and Emmanuel Rivera got called up. And like you said, Rivera's been really good for the D-backs this season. He's batting like .315 right now. The only issue with Rivera is he doesn't hit for power. It's all like singles. He hits doubles in the gap, but it hasn't been a lot of power. So if you were to make the case as to why giving Kyle Lewis a chance at the DH, even though you have Emmanuel Rivera and Evan Longoria on major league level, it would be for that power component. Maybe you could double down on power and have like a Evan Longoria, Kyle Lewis little love child, where maybe Longoria bats third some days. You have Lewis in that DH spot, and then you got uber power with Walker and Marte and Carroll in your lineup. That could be something that's really enticing as well. Nash, how about another Dominic who we've already seen on the major league level, but I feel like he's been kind of forgotten about. But I look at his stats as well, like we talked about with all these guys, like they've just been freaking phenomenal. I mean, Dominic Fletcher in the month of June, I mean, he's batting .389. We're at 880 OPS, but he's only played 8 games compared to Dominic Canzone's 18. Is that a playing time thing? Has he been hurt? What's going on with Fletch?
Yeah, he's been out the last couple of days, not in Reno, but maybe expecting him back at some point in Sacramento. He's been a catalyst for them too. Right out of the gate, opening weekend against Las Vegas at home, it was the Dominic Fletcher show, if I remember correctly. And then he went up and he performed well for the Diamondbacks. Like, he performed as well as you could have expected in center and at the plate, and then came back to Reno and just did not miss a beat. He has been Blake Lawley's main option in the leadoff spot when he's there. And he's great too. I mean, he lines the ball all over the field. He flags it down in center. There was this alignment of that you could dream on in defensively that was like Fletcher in left, Alec in center, and Jorge Barosa in right. And it's like it's the best defensive alignment in minor league history in an outfield. Like absolutely insane. Because Fletch he's a great defender too. And left-handed hitter, they're just so flush with left-handed talent in this system. And I agree, like he's been looked over because of Alec, McCarthy, Corbin Carroll might win the MVP. Like they're all left-handed, they're all outfielders, and Dominic Canzone's an outfielder with 1,000 OPS at AAA. Like that might happen in a system like this, but in any other system, Dominic Fletcher, you would not look over him. But because this system is so flush in left-handed outfield bats that are super talented and worthy of time, you do overlook him. But I agree with you. Like I think Dominic Fletcher can be high 200s bat, high on base percentage, hit for some power. I think he has hidden power. He's gap to gap, but I think he has 10 to 15 home run power and be a good platoon player in the majors. I think absolutely for Dominic Fletcher. So yeah, don't overlook him either.
And I wonder if the D-backs use him as like a potential trade chip as we get closer to the deadline, just because you're so loaded in the outfield already. And he played himself, he was playing well when the D-backs had him called up. And then when he got sent down, his final slash line was a 308 average with an 824 OPS. So on the season, he looks like he put up all-star numbers when he was playing with the D-backs. So maybe the D-backs can use him as a little trade piece, a little trade bait as we get closer to the deadline if they want to go for another starting pitcher or reliever in their rotation. There's one more guy that I want to talk about as to whether or not he should be called up, Nash. But before we get there, I first must play this little ad. And don't forget, you can catch every D-backs pitch on the hometown broadcast when you download the Sirius XM app and search up Diamondbacks. Now we're back here with Nash Walker of the Reno Aces. And there was one more guy that I want to talk about, Nash, because I gave you 3 position players, but there is one pitcher I want to discuss because this is the pride and joy of D-backs fan nation, the number 1 pitching prospect in the system. When he was called up already this year, he had a bit of a home run problem, and I'm not sure if it quite got fixed in AAA, but it does look like he was performing and pitching well despite still giving up home runs. So is Brandon Pfaadt ready to be called up once again by the D-backs?
Last 3 starts, 23 strikeouts, 1 walk for Brandon Pfaadt. That is par for the course for him. The thing, when you go from AAA to the majors, your flaws are amplified. That's what it is. As a hitter, if you run a 20% strikeout rate in AAA, you might strike out 35% of the time in the majors. And when you're a pitcher who has already a fly ball home run, I don't want to call it a problem in the minors because he's been so excellent and was so excellent last year. But it's his bugaboo. He pitches up in the zone. He gets a lot of fly balls. He gets swings and misses up there. His fastball is a great pitch. But when he gets hit, yes, it's often the home run ball. The thing that makes him great is he does so many things well. He doesn't walk anybody. He runs a high strikeout rate. He's an absolute workhorse. Like numbers last year that we haven't seen in the minors for a starting pitcher in a really long time, 167 innings. Like you just don't see that anymore, especially from a top pitching prospect in the system. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a ton of innings. You're going to get a lot of strikeouts. And yes, in the majors, that flaw was amplified, the home run flaw, but like off the charts amplified. That's not sustainable, right? He's way too talented. The prospect pedigree is way too strong for that to sustain in the majors, giving up, I can't remember, was it 8 home runs and a handful of starts or something like that. He is a very good pitching prospect, very, very good pitching prospect because of all the things he does well. He gets good extension. We saw the extension numbers where 93 looks more like 95, 96. And his fastball, when he is right, when he's commanding the ball, which is a lot, like a majority of the time, his fastball will overwhelm hitters. And then the sweeper we've seen develop as well into what hopefully becomes a plus pitch for him. But it's exciting. I mean, I know that it was rough. And when that happens, it's easy as a fan to just kind of forget and be like, oh, well, he's gone and he got roughed up. They look so bad, but it's never as bad as it looks at its worst. And it's never as great as it looks at its best either. And for Brandon Pfaadt, it looks bad in the majors, but he is way too talented, way too, I think just the way that he pitches and his stuff is too good, way too controlled for that to happen, I think, in the majors and to happen at that level. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Brandon Pfaadt. I think the stuff is going to play. I think he's going to be a good major league starter, and I think he's going to eat a ton of innings. I don't like that phrase "eat innings" because it's like that. Yeah. That almost it's like low quality. That's the first thing. Like Jordan Lyles eats innings, but like They're low quality. He's going to eat quality innings, I think, in the majors like he did last year for us in Amarillo. So he's looked great. He was phenomenal his last time. Just way too much for Albuquerque. They had no chance in that game. And the one run, can you guess? Solo homer.
Yeah,
solo homer. So, but that's the thing. Like Miguel Montero was here this week, and he said like the solo homer is not going to kill you, and Fott's not going to put guys on with walks. I think he has a sub 5% walk rate at AAA. Like he's not going to walk you. He's not going to put guys on for a 3-run homer very often. If he gives up runs, it's usually a home run. And you know what? When Justin Verlander gives up runs, it's usually home runs. Or when he won the Cy Young Award. But that sometimes is the thing. Like you give up a lot of homers, but you don't give up a lot of anything else.
Yeah, and hopefully he fixes the home run problem, because I was getting a little Robbie Ray flashbacks where you get like 8 strikeouts, but like 3 home runs allowed in like 5 innings pitched. That was kind of what Fott was doing that first time when he got called up. But if he hits the ceiling, I mean, who doesn't want a workhorse that throws a ton of strikeouts, right? Like that's kind of rare. It's hard to find guys that could throw a lot of innings but also rack up the strikeouts a lot, because a lot of times their pitch count just gets way too high and they can't rack up enough strikeouts to go deep into ball games. But Fott's a guy that could get you 10 strikeouts and go 6 or 7 innings. That's actually a rarity in today's game. And with Ryan Nelson, Tommy Henry kind of, on thin ice a little bit with some shaky performances, and it seems like all D-backs fans are calling for Zach Davies' job. I wouldn't be surprised if Fott is back on the major league level sooner rather than later. But Nash, before we wrap up today, I just want to do some quick hitters about some dudes who we just don't talk enough about in the Aces system. And just looking at the pitching, outside of Fott, everyone has like a 7 ERA or higher, but one guy that doesn't, with his 8.1 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, and only how many earned runs? 1 earned run in those 8 innings pitched. Justin Martinez. What can you tell me about him? Is he a guy that could be called up anytime soon? Like, how is he looking?
J Mart, we dimed that nickname in the broadcast booth. It's J Mart. He has been so good, Miller, that I texted our production director, and I said, "Hey, can we get him an entrance? Can we get him like the closer entrance like you'd see for Edwin Diaz? Because he's been so good. He has a 0.39 ERA since April 22nd, I believe is the date. He has been unreal, and it's not hard to see why. He was touching 102 multiple times yesterday. He's 5 for 5 in save opportunities. He throws over 100. He's 21 years old. Throws 102 with a disgusting splitter and a great slider. He's got 3+ pitches, and he's been in the zone. Now the walks are high. The walks are high on the season. That's the thing. Like if he's in the zone, he is untouchable. He's been untouchable here when he's in the zone. And even if he just gets ahead, he gets so much swing and miss and so many whiffs and crazy looking swings that all he really has to do is get strike one on AAA hitters, and it's over. That's how it's been for a long time. Blake Lawley has gone to him in bases loaded situations in the 7th or 8th, not even in the 9th, or the highest leverage spots have gone to Justin Martinez when he's available in the pen. And he's delivered at every turn. At every single turn, he has delivered. He's been unbelievable. I said yesterday on the broadcast, if this continues, he's not going to be here much longer, because when you watch a guy throwing 102 and he's throwing strikes consistently, that's going to play. That's going to play in the majors. And I think for Justin Martinez, when he's in the zone, untouchable stuff.
Yeah, the D-backs have some dudes that could throw upper 90s, but they don't have someone consistently that could throw 102 like that. So they've changed this whole bullpen philosophy the last offseason with getting guys that could throw upper 90s, dudes that could shut the door, high leverage guys that could just come in and shut the door with a big strikeout. If Justin Martinez could do that, he will have a job with the D-backs. And look, Scott McGuff has been really good the last couple of weeks, but it's been a little bit of a revolving door in that closing role as well. To come in, get some 6th, 7th inning opportunities and just shut the door on those. Maybe he gets a look or two as the season progresses in that closing role. I'm not too sure if it happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if the D-backs give him a shot, because it seems like they're always looking for their closer of the future. Last guy before we wrap up today, just because I don't know a lot about him, but he's batting .333 in the month of June with 890 OPS. He's played the most games for the Reno Aces in the month of June. Jorge Barrosa. The only thing that I know about him is when you click on his profile, he is 5'5". That is a tiny little man. What can you tell me about Jorge?
Yeah, we love him here. Like he's been so much fun here. He came in and it was a little bit later. It wasn't opening day. He was not here on opening day. He came a little bit later. And like since the minute he's come, he's just been so fun to watch and be around. And yeah, he plays center. Like he's the everyday center fielder for the most part. And he'll play right and switch around when Fletcher is in center. But switch hitter, and with the challenge system, Jorge Barosa he's listed at 5'5". He doesn't seem 5'5" to me. Like when I stand next to him, like I don't feel like I'm talking to somebody who's 5'5". I don't. So I don't think he's 5'5". Maybe he is, but he doesn't seem 5'5". But yeah, he has such a great idea of the zone. So with this challenge system, I'm like Jorge might challenge twice here because his idea of the zone is really, really firm. He understands the zone from both sides of the plate. He's been better from the left side, but I think coming around on both sides lately, he had a great series. I mentioned Kyle Lewis had a great series. It was like Barosa and Lewis. Those were the guys this week. Barosa was a homer away from the cycle. I think in game 2 of the series, he's a triples machine. He's an extra base hit machine, doubles, triples. And he's had those streaks this year too, where when he's good, when he's right, he is one of the best hitters in the lineup, and he's only 22. Like he's 22 years old at AAA. And I think what's enticing for D-backs fans, or what should be, is you have a lot of left-handed bats in this outfield. Jorge Barosa is a switch hitter. He's a plus defensive center fielder, and he's so young on the 40-man roster as well. I think Barosa is overlooked. I absolutely do, and I really like him too. I like him, so I think like D-backs fans would like him as well. And that's always fun. I mean, that adds to it. Like you love when a guy performs, but you can love a guy too. And I think D-backs fans would really like Jorge Barosa. So yes, I think keep an eye on him. Like continue to watch and monitor him. He's going to have some lows because he's so young and he's adjusting and he's a switch hitter. So you got to tailor both sides of the plate. But he's a ball player. He's very good in center field. He is a good young prospect and somebody you have to keep an eye on.
Super excited for the D-backs future. I'm just going to have a headache trying to decide who deserves playing time among these outfielders. I mean, you got the Carroll, you got the McCarthy, you got the Thomas already on the major league level. Then you got like 3 more dudes who seem like they're ready to come up, and Barosa, Canzone, and Fletcher. Not to mention the D-backs might be sending a second outfielder to this year's All-Star game in Lourdes Gurriel. So they are just completely stacked in that area. And it's always good to have depth. I mean, if your biggest issue is you have too many good players in your minor league system and you don't know what to do with them, maybe start trading them away for some flaws they might have on your major league roster. That is Nash Walker of the Reno Aces. Sir, where can the people find you? I mean, I know you don't.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen if you're watching at Nash Walker 9 on Twitter. Thank you. Follow Millard at Creator Thomas 24, doing an amazing job. And I cheer for the D-backs because I'm cheering for you. And I want them to win for you because you deserve it. So enjoy doing these on the daily because you and I both know what it's like when the team is bad. So enjoy like the not only the present, but what should be just a really, really prosperous and fun future for this team and for this system. They have so much talent here, not only in the majors, but in Reno and in Amarillo. Jordan Lawler is crushing and he's on his way. It's so exciting.
Yep, Lawler gonna be in that futures game along with Ryan Bliss. So excited for that. Excited for the second.
Ryan Bliss, I'm excited. I'm excited for Ryan Bliss to come because when we talk to another guy, I'll be saying, "Oh, he's the best hitter in the lineup."
Hopefully, next time we catch up, Ryan Bliss will be on that AAA roster for the Reno Aces. And I look forward to the next time we catch up. Looking forward to the second half of the season for both our teams. That is Nash Walker of the Reno Aces. Until next time, sir.
Thanks, Millard. You're the man.